Hello everybody, Reverend Dr. Reg here. This video I'm going to be covering the First Amendment and the fact that it is under fire from virtually every direction. To start the video off, I'd like to read to you all what the First Amendment of the Constitution is. Amendment 1, the United States Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So that is the First Amendment, which basically means that there is nothing the Congress can do to restrict the freedom of religion, speech, the press, or anything. Those are all freedoms that we have. Now, I'm sure as a lot of people are well aware of, the past, I'd say about 10 years or so, the First Amendment has been heavily under fire. But recently, it got worse. I'll start off with what's happening here with America, as far as the United States government is concerned, with the attack of the First Amendment. Obama recently passed a bill that pretty much says that it's illegal for bullying in any nature. So, in other words, you can't call a Jew a Jew bag, or they're not going to heaven because they're a Jew. You can't tell a Muslim that they're not going to heaven because they're a terrorist. Well, not because that'll throw you in jail. And apparently the premise of this is the fact that he was allegedly bullied when he was in school. Okay, fine, great. Well, what's the problem? Not everybody that gets bullied in school can have issues. It's part of growing up. Then, well, what's hitting the news media a lot right now is the fact that in Tennessee they're looking at passing a bill that kind of says that bullying to a certain extent is allowed as long as it doesn't escalate into violence. So it'll be perfectly okay for somebody to attack other people verbally as long as it doesn't turn physical. And there's a lot of uprising about that right now because everybody's suggesting, well, then now you're saying it's okay, you're giving rights to the bullies. Well, in all actuality, no, you're not. All you're doing is, what's been done all along. It's kind of freedom of speech. If this law in Tennessee does not get passed, where it stays in the fact that you can't say anything against anybody that's classified as being a bully, if that stays, that's an attack on freedom of speech. All this law in Tennessee is trying to do is bring back the freedom of speech, where you have the freedom to say whatever it is you want to say. Which, there once was a time in this country that you had full-on freedom of speech. You were able to say whatever it is that came to your mind, whatever you wanted to say, you were allowed to say. But you, out of respect for the other person, you just didn't say certain things. Say you're friends with somebody who lives in a trailer park, and you live in this big $500,000 home. Now you're going to fight with that person. It was your right to now that you're in an argument with that person and you're all angry and everything, to call that person trailer park trash. That wasn't taken as, you're a bully. It's just what came out naturally in an argument. But on an everyday basis, you wouldn't say that out of respect for the person. And if you're friends with the person, I'm sure you realize that the person is working, they're doing the best they can to survive, and that's all they can afford. You know, not everybody that lives in a trailer park is trash. It's like everywhere else. You have your good people, and you have your bad people. So out of respect, there's just certain things you can say to people. And that's all this law in Tennessee is trying to do, is enable the freedom of speech. You know, and as far as the little kids are concerned, kids are going to be kids. You know, a perfect example is myself. I mean, I was, you know, bullied not only by my peers in school, but I was, you know, abused at home too. And if you take a look at me now, you know, I don't think that being bullied did anything wrong to me. I didn't, you know, fall through the cracks, so to speak, or any of these other nonsensical beliefs that the liberal media is trying to pass by everybody. That's going to happen if you allow so-called bullying act to pass in Tennessee. You're either going to, you know, take it for what it is, or you're not. Yes, there are going to be kids that have problems with it, but they'll get past it. You know, it's just a way of life. It's just how it is. You can't grow up scared of saying this, that, or the other thing. And part of all this being done as kids, where kids banging on little kids, and, you know, throw out all these different verbal attacks, it's part of the learning process of what you can and can't say to each other, how it affects the other individual. And not only does it mold the person who's saying these things, but it also molds the person who's taking the attacks into better people. Like I said, for a good number of my childhood years, I myself was abused by my peers. I was bullied all the time. And what finally stopped that was when I finally decided enough was enough, and I fought back. As soon as I hit that one kid back, nobody else was going to bully me. And, you know, in the long run, I wound up becoming the protector, so to speak, of the underdog. Because after that, you know, now that I realized I had it in me to fight back, a lot of the other kids in the school now were getting bullied. I stepped in, and I came to their defense. And I became kind of sort of the bridge between the so-called losers and the so-called cool kids. Because obviously when I was being bullied, I was considered a loser. I didn't, you know, fit with anybody. Once I fought back, I became semi-popular. And by helping out the underdog, you know, helping out the other kids that were being bullied all the time, I kind of bridged the two cliques together. And if you look at me today, you know, I'm a minister of Christ. I'm preaching the truth. It doesn't get any better than that. So, you know, and I was always working. You know, when I was 16 years old, on my birthday, I went out and got a job. You know, I've always held down 2 or 3 jobs at a time. So this nonsense that this bill is giving bullies rights, and it's going to bring these kids to suicide and all the other, you know, nonsensical mindsets that the liberal media is trying to get you people to believe is completely asinine. And as far as I'm concerned, Tennessee has it right. And all the states should pick up on that bill and pass that bill and overturn Obama's bill. It's this anti-bully nonsense. It's just that nonsense. I don't know what he's trying to prove or who he's trying to protect other than himself. That's all it really comes down to. By making all of us fear what we can and can't say, it's going to make a whole lot of people just not say anything at all, because they're going to fear what's going to happen to them in the long run for saying that, because now it can be something as simple as, just say you're a Christian and you're preaching the gospel to a Muslim, and then now that's making you liable for breaking the law. You know what I'm saying? So all Obama's doing in the long run is trying to protect himself by ridding us of our freedom of speech. So let's just cut the nonsense with that. And I'm going to say that Tennessee is on the right page with this. All you people out there that are trying to suggest and believe on this liberal media nonsense that this is giving rights to the bullies are completely out of your minds. I mean, I haven't been too separated from how things are done in the schools since I've been out of school. Mainly because I have some brothers and sisters that are still in the school system. Well, two of my sisters are still in school. Then I have my brother that's going to college right now. So, long after I got out of school, I was still hearing about what's going on with the school system, and I've been paying attention to the news and whatnot. And then there's always the stories like that my parents told me, my grandparents, and my other friends, a lot of friends that were older than me, and telling me what it was like when they were in school. And it's just a way of life. So as far as I'm concerned, Tennessee's on the right page. Another aspect that I want to talk to you about how the First Amendment under attack is this UN Resolution 1618. One Resolution 1618, in which the United States finally signed on to, it is suggesting, it's pretty much stating that any speech that can incite imminent violence is outlawed. They're trying to promote interfaithist, intercultural type speech. But anything that incites violence, you're not allowed to say. Now, first of all, as stated in the article that I had read, any resolutions passed in the United Nations is notwithstanding in the individual countries, especially in America, considering we go by the United States Constitution, not the United Nations. But at any rate, the United States signed onto this resolution, and this resolution was initiated by the OIC, which is the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. 56 Muslim states belong to the OIC, and all they're basically trying to do with that is creeping Sharia law, as everybody calls it, creeping Sharia. Well, that's exactly what this is, because by changing the term from discriminatory to incite of imminent violence, it's still doing exactly what the OIC wants done. It's still limiting our free speech. So anything that they feel incites violence is not allowed to be done. So in other words, if we preach the gospel to a Muslim, we're breaking the law. If we draw a caricature of Muhammad, we're breaking the law. If we say anything against Islam, period, we're breaking the law. And if you really expect that that's going to be carried over for the Muslims as well, whereas the Muslims can bash the Christian faith or the Jewish faith, that they're going to be liable to the same punishment, you got to be modest, because that's not what's going on here. You got to understand that OIC that's behind this resolution. They're the ones that initiated the resolution in the first place. And these same nations that initiated this resolution are the same nations that over in the Mideast, we got Saudi Arabia. What's Saudi Arabia doing? Is there any Christians still in Saudi Arabia? How much freedom do the women have? And how do they handle characters of Muhammad being drawn? And then you have Pakistan, Palestine. You have all these Islamic states that were pushing for this resolution to be pushed through the United Nations. And these are all the same Islamic states that are 100% Islamist, 100% anti-Semitic, anti-Christian, anti-anything that's not Islam. So basically what this is saying is, well, your freedom of speech gives you the right to bash my prophet, but my freedom of religion gives me the urge to kill you for it. And that's all that's going on here. So we need to pay attention to this resolution UN 1618 and try to get it revoked. We gotta, stop listening to liberal media and educate the masses of what's going on with this bill in Tennessee, and try to get all the other states to follow suit alongside Tennessee and get this squared away and taken care of. Because like I said, it's part of growing up. Kids are going to be kids. Kids are going to attack each other. It's just what happens. And it should not be up to the United Nations either to regulate how us here in America speak and treat each other. You have always had people that were real rugged in their wording and in their acts towards other peoples, and you've always had peoples that were respectful of other peoples. It's going to happen no matter what, whether there's a law outlawing it, or it's 100% okay. Either way you look at it, it's going to be that nonetheless, no matter what. So what we really need to do here is educate everybody on Resolution 1618 and on this bill in Tennessee, and grab a hold of our Constitution and the First Amendment in particular, because they're bashing a lot of people. I mean, they're doing what they can to make anybody who is a freedom-loving American look horrible. And it's allowing the Muslims to come in and just completely annihilate our Constitution and replace it with Sharia law. Because they're not going to assimilate into Western society. They just aren't. We see this happening over in Europe. So they're almost done with Europe. And they're starting here. And it is moving at an accelerated rate. We cannot allow this to happen. The more they push, the more we gotta push back. They got feet in the ground and push back. We need to let everybody know. The American government, the United Nations, the Muslims, everybody needs to understand. You come to America, you are going to respect our beliefs, our values, in our society, in our culture. If you don't understand or respect the American way of life, then you don't have to come here. It's that simple. If you're already here and you don't like the American way of life, then go back home wherever it was you came from. It's that simple. Let me again read you the First Amendment, just so you can understand what exactly is under attack here. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And that is the amendment that is under attack right now. That is the amendment that, through this Bullying Act, and through the UN Resolution 1618, as well as numerous other blatant attacks to rid us of our freedoms, is attacking. Another prime example I can give you, not that I'm a big fan of the methods of the OWS movement, but they just recently had one of their stations shut down in New York City because they don't have press passes. They're independent journalists. And apparently, according to the government, they're breaking the law. According to the Constitution, they have the constitutional right to do that, to cover whatever they want to cover, and get the word out there. The Constitution was made for the people, by the people. It's supposed to be a system of checks and balances. It's supposed to be telling the government how far they're allowed to go. It's supposed to be a very tight leash the people have on the government. What the government is doing right now, what the United Nations is trying to do right now, is rid us of those powers and of those freedoms. And they're pulling the leash ever so longer and ever so longer and ever so longer. And pretty soon the leash is going to stretch so thin that it's just going to snap. And once it snaps, our Constitution will be officially dead. And America will be officially dead, because now the government just broke free and they're running wild. So we can't allow this to happen. I don't remember the exact name of the Tennessee bill, but I believe I have a link up to one of the articles about it on my Facebook page. I'll leave a link to my page on the bottom in the description. But I'm sure if you Google about the Tennessee bullying bill, you should find it there. We need to educate the people about the United Nations Resolution 1618, and we need to educate people about every other attack that's coming on against not just the First Amendment, but the entire Constitution. And we really got to be paying very close attention to the news and what's going on. I mean, there's more and more and more and more attacks going on against the Constitution than many of you out there watching this video right now would like to believe. It is our duty as American citizens to defend and uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It is about time we do our job and uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Right now, our biggest domestic enemy is Congress itself, the entire establishment itself. Congress has the ability to impeach Obama. They have the ability to stop Obama in his tracks of everything he's doing unconstitutional, especially the fact that he actually blatantly said that he has the ability or the right or the power to step over Congress to accomplish whatever it is he needs to accomplish. And nowhere in the Constitution does it say anything of that sort. That the president does not have that much authority. Our Congress has the authority to stop him in his tracks. And for numerous things he's done, has the authority to impeach him and possibly even throw him in jail for treason. But yet they sit and they do nothing. So there's our biggest enemy domestically. Our biggest enemy foreign, aside from Islam, which is more of a ideology, not exactly a entity. I'm going to say the United Nations. They have United Nations Agenda 21, which I've covered in a little bit of detail, and give everybody ways of finding more information on the agenda in a couple of videos and articles that I've written. And I believe I'll link. Excuse me. And I believe I'll link up an article or two up on the website. And through this resolution 1618, that's trying to take away our freedom of speech, not just from America, but all the nations that belong to the United Nations. The resolution 1618, there goes your freedom of speech. And numerous other attacks that are coming from the United Nations. So those are our two biggest enemies that we really got to be focusing in on and taking care of. We, as the American people, have the duty, as American citizens, to uphold and defend our Constitution and our way of life against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So I think it's about time we start doing so. So please, remember about this bill in Tennessee. See what that's all about. Don't believe all this liberal media propaganda, for lack of better terms. And look into Resolution 1618 from the United Nations and see what that's all about. And try to educate people about what's going on. Link up to my video, embed my video on your website. And feel free to ask me to cover anything more in depth, and I'll be more than happy to do so for you. You can find other articles about the stuff and send it via email or links or what have you to your friends and family, wherever they may be at. But let's get this word out there. We need to start educating the people. We need to start waking each other up. We need to start banding together. It is literally now or never. America is dying. We are literally looking at the destruction of America right before our eyes. We need to stand up as a nation, as a whole, people as a whole, and take the country back. We need to thwart off all those attacks on the First Amendment, on the Constitution as a whole, and make sure that we maintain our freedoms. If they successfully take down our First Amendment, that's it. The rest of the Constitution is just going to crumble. And they know it. And that is why they're trying so hard to attack us through the First Amendment. They know if they nullify the First Amendment, that's it. Our Constitution is dead. Why do you think the NDAA bill and the SOPA bill is pretty much concentrating on the destruction of the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments? So do myself, yourself, and every other American out there a favor. Study up on United Nations Resolution 1618, on this bill in Tennessee that has to do with the bullying, and every other attack that's going on against the Constitution, and start educating your friends, your family, yourself, and all the rest of America. Get the information out there as far and as wide as you can, as fast as you can, while we still have time. It's only a matter of time before everything is under wraps, and we're going to go to log on to the internet one day, and it's just not going to be there. Or we're going to go to make a phone call one day, and our phones aren't going to work, especially if you have a smartphone. They're looking to be able to control all this stuff, which in turn controls us. So before it gets that bad, let's stop it in its tracks. Let's get the information out there as far as wide as possible, and as quickly as possible. We need to start standing together and banding together as a people. Alright, until next time, I wish you luck in your studies. Get the information out to people. Let's preserve our Constitution. Let's preserve our freedoms. God bless.